One of the things that Sachs says, which I thought was really good, is there's two kinds of law. There's natural law and moral law. Natural law is descriptive. Natural law says that if I were to take my glasses and drop them, they'll fall to the floor. That's a natural law. Moral law says I should or should not do something. There isn't a particular physical limitation. When a natural law fails, the problem is with the law. Let me give you an example. Isaac Newton, one of the most brilliant guys that ever graced the planet, also a devout Christian, by the way, came up with laws of motion. And those laws of motion described mechanics for several hundred years. And then along came Einstein, and he demonstrated that under certain conditions, those laws are not correct anymore. So what has to happen when the natural law is found not to work is the natural law has to be changed. The description of reality is not quite correct. So what we have to do is we have to come up with a better description. I mean, the laws are the laws of the laws. 186,000 miles an hour, it's not just a good idea, it's the law. So the law has to be changed to accommodate changes in observation. And that's what happened with relativity and so forth. Moral laws are different because when a moral law is violated, the problem is not with the law, the problem is with the actor. So the moral law says you shan't steal. Well, you can steal. Done it myself. And when I steal, the problem is not that the law is bad, the problem is that I am bad. So you understand the difference between those two types of laws. Natural law, if you can figure out a way to violate a natural law, there's a flaw in the law and you got to fix that flaw in the law. When you violate the moral law is just fine. The problem is now with you. And the thing that is missing in the first creation up until the flood is the moral law. That wasn't there. So what happens in the second creation is the introduction of moral law. And so what we have in the rest of the Torah after the flood is God's description of moral law. And there's two ways that it happens, by the way. Way number one is by statute. Thou shalt not X, Y, or Z. Thou shalt A, B, or C. Okay, prescriptive. That's not enough. The other way that it happens is by stories. Or in modern business language, case studies. So God lays out these laws, thou shalt not, and all that kind of stuff, and you can memorize that. But the problem is you can obey every one of those laws and still be a fundamentally corrupt person. So that's where we have the stories of the case studies. And what you have in Scripture then is side by side, over and over and over again, two men or two families in exactly the same situation, and one of them behaves one way and the other behaves the other way, and then you get to look at the consequences that flow from that. So you have, for example, Joseph and Judah. Both of them get presented with sexual temptation. One of them does one thing, the other one does another thing. And then you get to look and see what the consequences are that flow from those actions. Those are case studies. What I'm suggesting to you is that physical law is not enough. You need moral law. And then moral law is given to you in two ways. Statutes, black and white, and case studies.